Forest spirits.
No.
At dawn, faint light struggled through the thick canopy, illuminating the snow-covered forest. Becky's footsteps crunched softly on the icy ground as she studied fresh tracks heading into the northern woods. She examined them closely, noticing their small size and faint claw marks, suggesting a swift creature. Her heart rate was steady, yet her mind considered possible explanations: fox or something larger. The tracks led toward an overgrown, rarely visited area rumored for strange noises. Becky stood carefully, sensing that recent activity demanded or investigation. She adjusted her backpack straps, took a deep breath of cold, invigorating air, and hesitated over her radio. No backup needed yet. The forest subtly changed. She sensed something unfamiliar, facing a presence more threatening than wildlife. Her eyes fixed on the narrowing path where patches of disturbed snow indicated heavy movement. A faint metallic aroma mixed with damp earth reached her, tightening her muscles. She halted, listening intently. Only distant ice cracking and wind whispers were heard, no signs of humans or animals, just a lingering unease suggesting something recent crossed here. A chill filled her chest as the tracks led into an obscure part of the woods guarded by ancient trees. The ground was softer, less snow-covered, hinting at recent activity by something larger than a fox. She examined the terrain for clues: torn foliage, irregular footprints, disturbed snow, and felt for irregularities beneath the surface. Suddenly, an unnatural coldness froze her in place as rhythmic thumping grew louder in her ears, a steady pounding that quickened her heartbeat. Was it her mind playing tricks, or was something lurking in the shadows watching her? She clenched her flashlight tighter, its beam cutting through the darkness as she moved cautiously forward. The path ended in a small clearing where the snow appeared darker and muddier. Something had disturbed this peaceful spot recently. Becky's senses heightened. She stepped into the open, examining every corner and snow swirl. Her breath lingered in the cold air, blending with the stillness. She paused to listen again. Only the wind's murmur and her heartbeat echoed back. Suddenly, just beyond her sight, a shadow flickered, vanishing quickly,
No.
but enough to send a shiver down her spine. Her muscles tensed involuntarily. She had come too far to turn back now. Carefully, she approached the source of the movement, each step intentional, and her senses stretched thin. The trail led to a thicket's edge where tangled branches hinted at secrets hidden beneath their twisted canopy. As she neared, a sudden gust rustled the leaves, and she froze, eyes narrowing. The woods seemed to hold its breath again, hinting at something unfamiliar passing through recently. Her grip on the lantern tightened as questions arose: what creature left these signs? Why here in this forgotten spot? A faint thud grew closer, making her pulse race. Was it imagination or someone watching? She moved carefully toward the muddy depression where tracks converged. The recent disturbance indicated something had been dragged through, leaving broken twigs and displaced snow behind. The metallic smell intensified, blending with damp earth, raising her vigilance. She paused, ears alert for sounds, hearing only distant ice cracking and wind whispering. A sudden shift made her freeze again as the temperature plummeted and a soft thudding grew closer. Her muscles tensed, scanning for movement. She knew she was no longer alone. Something had recently entered this part of the forest. It was unfamiliar. Gripping her lantern tighter, questions raced through her mind. What creature could leave such fragile traces? Why here and now? The forest silence was thick, but lurked an unseen presence waiting patiently. Becky realized her curiosity had turned to survival. She'd found signs of an intruder, yet the real threat hid in the shadows, watching. A cold gust swept past her suddenly, rippling through the trees. She gazed into the darkness, eyes narrowing as the forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her. Who might be at her door at this late hour? She paused, eyeing the frame, weighing her choices. Her voice would be lost in the storm's howling, so she listened closely, fogging the glass with her breath while debating whether to open. A more urgent knock pierced the wind's scream, making her move quietly across the creaking floor. Through the small window, darkness and snow swirled. Her fogged breath revealed her hesitation as she balanced fear and safety. After a moment of thought, she unlocked and slowly opened the door. A figure stood there, cold hunched and soaked in a torn jacket with shadowed features beneath a hood. Nervous eyes flicked about as he shivered from the cold. He entered silently after closing the door with a trembling breath. Becky observed him carefully, cautious but steady. "What do you want?" she asked calmly, her voice steady despite her pounding heart. The man paused briefly before speaking in a deep, husky tone. "I need a place to stay tonight. I've been running from something." His eyes showed desperation, suspicion, and fatigue. "Please." She observed him carefully, noticing trembling hands and nervous glances toward the door. Trust was rare here, especially after recent events. Yet she sensed the desperation behind his words, mirroring her own loneliness and fears. "You can stay," she said softly, stepping aside. "But I need to know who you are and what you're fleeing from." He entered hesitantly, removing his damp coat that left wet spots on the wooden floor. His shoulders drooped as he finally gazed directly. "My name is Jack. I'm a traveler, but not an ordinary one. Something inhuman has been following me, with strange lights and unexplainable sounds, as if the forest watches me." Becky's brow furrowed, cautious yet curious. She poured tea and asked about the noises and lights. He nodded, haunted, describing flickering orbs and shifting shadows, revealing fresh tracks that couldn't be normal. They entered the woods, and suddenly I saw it in tall, silent figure with eyes like fire. She shivered, pinning her down. The earlier tracks now made sense. Something stirs in the forest beyond understanding. She took a breath to steady herself. "And you think it's linked to those lights?" Jack's face darkened as he clenched his jaw. "I don't know what it is, but it's unnatural, and I can't stay here if it's dangerous. I need to escape and find help before it's too late." Becky weighed her options carefully, torn between protecting the land and the fear she saw in Jack's eyes, the same fear she buried long ago. Her hand reached for her waist pouch, fingers gripping her emergency whistle. Outside, the wind howled louder, causing the cabin to shake as shadows flickered across the snow-like predators. The forest held secrets now knocking on her door. She hesitated, then nodded. "You can stay, but I don't trust easily, and if anything strange happens, I won't hesitate." Jack looked relieved yet exhausted, sitting on a bench nearby. Becky's thoughts raced. She knew about supernatural signs, but now her understanding deepened, revealing a connection to unseen forces. Her cautious empathy strengthened as she reached for her cup, interrupted by the storm outside. Gazing into the darkness beyond the window, she realized her situation had changed. The forest was an active part of it now, and her awareness of danger had sharpened. Jack's presence was more than shelter, it was a catalyst capable of transforming everything. Secrets of the night were unveiling themselves, and her role in facing them was about to deepen. When she settled back, her initial loneliness faded. She saw her quiet refuge as fragile. The supernatural danger was nearer and more tangible, and trusting Jack might be key to uncovering or falling prey. Her world had shifted as shadows outside waited for her next move. Becky cautiously moved through frost-hardened brush, breath forming fleeting clouds and cold air. Dawn's light struggled to pierce tangled branches, casting long twisted shadows on snow. She focused on fresh footprints, large, purposeful, leading from the abandoned cabin into dense woods. The tracks suggested a large predator familiar with these woods. She knelt to examine them closely, noticing claw marks and thick pads. Her suspicions confirmed they weren't ordinary animals, but something bigger, perhaps a dominant predator. A shiver ran down her spine as she looked around at the unnaturally leaning trees and heavy silence. Every sound, from rustling leaves to distant cracks, seemed amplified as if the forest itself was listening. Becky sensed something was watching her. A subtle, almost unnoticeable feeling prickled her skin. She paused, scanning the shadows with heightened vigilance, her senses sharpened by unease. Suddenly, she saw a flicker of movement, a shadow slipping behind branches. Her heartbeat quickened, and she gripped her binoculars tighter. Moving closer, she narrowed her eyes to detect any sign of life. Recent footprints in the snow showed claws and rough gait. Someone or something had been observing her or was still nearby, hidden in the foliage. Her mind raced over possibilities: an animal defending territory or a person watching secretly. The thought of an unseen watcher chilled her. She scrutinized the woods carefully for signs of movement amid the oppressive silence, broken only by faint claws, scraping bark, or distant twig snaps. A sudden peripheral movement froze her in place. She jerked her head sharply, but only caught a fleeting shadow, something vanishing behind a thick tree trunk. Her heart pounded as adrenaline sharpened her senses, and she cautiously moved closer, eyes shifting between shadows. The snow here was recently disturbed, with faint claw marks and heavier footprints, indicating someone or something had been watching her and might still be nearby. Becky's grip on her binoculars tightened as her mind raced with possibilities. Was it a predator defending its territory or a person with malicious intent? Unseen eyes seemed to follow each of her movements, and she scanned the woods carefully for signs of life or movement. The silence grew heavier, interrupted only by faint crackles of twigs or claws scraping bark. Her gaze lingered on the darkened shadows, searching for anything alive. A quick flicker, possibly a flash of dark fabric or a fleeting figure, disappeared behind a tree. Her jaw clenched as she resisted the urge to shout or run forward. Instead, she slowed her breathing and listened intently for any sign of presence. The woods felt alive with her, cold air thick with anticipation as a gust shook the treetops, revealing snow in a shimmering sheet and uneven ground. Becky noticed disturbed snow leading deeper into the forest, indicating someone moved through carefully. Her instincts urged caution before rushing in. A subtle shift in the atmosphere heightened her unease. A faint rustling, unnatural and soft, suggested she was not alone. She glimpsed a dark shape slipping behind a thick trunk, and the feeling of being watched intensified, warning her of unseen eyes fixed on her. Moving slowly and deliberately, she wondered if her observer was intended to be hostile or merely defending territory. No answers came, only the clear thread of something hidden, but lurking nearby, a soft scrape or claw against bark, hinting at presence, then vanishing into darkness again. She paused briefly, steadying her breath as she sensed someone or something watching her nearby. Her feet remained on untouched snow, but her skin prickled with awareness. A soft rustling from the wind sounded like whispers from the forest itself. Becky glanced toward the shadows and saw a dark shape slipping behind a thicker tree. The feeling of being watched grew stronger, making her muscles tense. She realized she was no longer just an observer, but a target, carefully observed. Recognizing her vulnerability, Becky slowly retreated, moving cautiously and staying alert for any sign of pursuit. She aimed to lure the observer out on her own terms. Moving toward a fallen log for cover, she grabbed her radio in case she needed backup. Suddenly, an almost silent scrape broke the quiet like a branch shifting or claws on bark. Her heart raced, but she kept calm and looked through binoculars at where the shadow had been. It had disappeared into darkness again. Remaining still, she scanned the area and thought about her next step. The wind shifted once more, bringing an unfamiliar metallic scent into the air. Her senses heightened as she realized her chase had turned into a dangerous game of hiding and pursuit, with the woods no longer just quiet, but a battleground of unseen forces. Becky paused as shadows closed in, her eyes fixed on the flickering figure among the trees. The distant howl had quieted, filling the cold air with tense anticipation. Her breath formed brief clouds that vanished into the dense forest. Every nerve was alert. She cautiously moved forward, listening keenly for any signs of movement or sound revealing the cry's source. The moon's faint glow cast shadows across uneven ground, lighting frost-covered bushes and jagged pine bark. The woods seemed to hold their breath, shadows shifting with each gust of wind. Her fingers instinctively brushed near her flashlight tucked at her side, but she hesitated, trusting her senses over artificial light. Her gaze returned to the faint silhouette beyond the fallen log as she froze, muscles tense and alert. Suddenly, a rustling broke the silence and made her tense even more. The shadow flickered again behind thick trunks, elusive yet purposeful. She silently circled around the log, every step calculated and quiet. As she advanced over leaf-strewn ground, her eyes tracked the fleeting form, too quick to name, but clearly deliberate in its movements. A gust of wind caused branches overhead to sway and whisper softly. The shadow moved again, drawing nearer and slipping silently between two trees. Becky's pulse sped up, but she stayed still, narrowing her eyes. Her hand reached into her pocket, fingertips touching her cold whistle as she hesitated to call out or stay quiet. The forest was silent except for night sounds and her shaky breathing. Then a flicker caught her eye, an unclear shape shimmering between light and dark, like ripples rather than a solid figure. Her mind scrambled to determine if it was a shadow trick or something dangerous. Her muscles tensed again as she considered her next move, knowing something might be hidden nearby. A faint crack sounded behind her suddenly. Becky spun instinctively, scanning the darkness for the source. No other noise followed, but she felt a chill in the weight of unseen eyes watching her. Her fist clenched tightly, steady despite the tension rising. The woods seemed alive with silent observation beyond her sight. Then a low growl echoed through the trees, resonating deep within her chest. Becky's breath hitched. She lowered herself slightly, muscles taut and alert for movement. Her eyes returned to the shadow, now more defined, a fleeting glimpse of something sleek, swift, almost feline, vanishing into thicker branches. She realized she couldn't ignore it. Whatever was here knew she was nearby. A cold shock hit her. This wasn't just an animal or simple threat. The way the figure moved, the sounds, and the silence afterward all suggested intelligence, maybe even purpose. Her thoughts raced to interpret recent clues, the distant howl, shifting chateau, faint growl. All signs pointed to a creature or person watching her carefully. With cautious resolve, Becky took a careful step forward, eyes fixed on where the shadow vanished. Her heartbeat roared in her ears, but her determination grew stronger. If connected to recent strange events, she couldn't retreat now. She had to face the unknown. Her voice barely a whisper. Who's there? Show yourself. The woods held tense silence until movement more deliberate appeared from shadows, hesitating before entering weak moonlight. Becky's eyes widened at the sight of a tense, crouched figure with darting eyes hiding in shadows. She advanced cautiously, speaking softly but firmly, "I mean no harm." "Who are you? What's your purpose here?" The person hesitated before raising trembling hands in surrender, their face concealed in darkness, but showing tension and nervousness. Her instincts urged caution, while her curiosity kept her tone steady. As they shifted slightly, shadows revealed anxious expressions and shaky hands, eyes flickering nervously as if expecting threats. A primal scent from the breeze heightened our senses further. The figure looked toward or then away along the trail, alert for reinforcements or attack. Becky realized this person was hiding, watching, waiting to reveal themselves or strike. Her grip tightened on her side. She understood she was no longer just observing, but part of this mystery unfolding, either confronting the shadow or uncovering hidden truths beneath the darkness. A sudden movement behind her caught her attention again. She spun around, alert and cautious. This time, she observed a faint flicker, a brief silhouette moving between trees, more purposeful than before. She paused briefly, then retreated slightly, eyes narrowing. The figure remained there, observing and waiting. She understood her presence had altered the situation. The nervousness, primal scent, and flickering shadow confirmed she had entered a realm where unseen forces and hidden motives intertwined. Her prior assumption of an animal was incorrect. This was a space where intelligence and danger coexisted. Her thoughts flashed rapidly. The cautious posture suggested it wasn't an enemy, but possibly someone equally lost, desperate. Still, the primal scent hinted at feral instincts, potentially hostile at any moment. Becky's choice to approach stemmed from curiosity, but also awareness of possible danger. Steadying herself with a deep breath, she lowered her voice further. "I'm not here to hurt you, but I need to understand what's out here. Are you alone?" The figure hesitated before slowly lowering their hands, showing a tense, wary face. Their eyes flickered nervously, hinting at fear and determination. Becky understood they were hiding more than just fear. They were guarding something or fleeing from it. A faint, wild scent drifted on the wind, heightening her senses. The figure glanced at or then down the trail as if awaiting help or danger. Becky realized this person or creature was watching and concealing itself, waiting for the right moment. Her grip on her weapon tightened. She knew she was now caught in a web of secrets and threats. The forest darkness was no longer just a background, but part of the unfolding scene. Her passivity had ended, she now faced choices. Without breaking eye contact, Becky stepped closer and asked firmly, "We don't need to be enemies." "What's going on here? Are you involved in this?" Becky observed Jack with suspicion, noticing his nervous glances and cautious tone as he said, "Thanks for letting me stay. I didn't mean to cause trouble." He shifted slightly, looking at the flickering flames, then back at her. "I need more time to figure things out," he said, nervously touching a small item in his pocket. Becky's instincts told her most secrets hide behind calm masks, but Jack's unease felt desperate. Her gaze was sharp. "What are you running from exactly?" she asked steadily but suspiciously. Jack hesitated, lips tight, then exhaled sharply, releasing a burden. "I got caught up in some trouble I shouldn't have." "I'm not your enemy," he clumsily replied. Becky's mind spun. Trust was risky after footprints and distant howling she had seen and heard earlier. Someone or something was watching her, and she wondered if Jack's presence was connected. She stayed alert. "You're hiding something, I can sense it." Her voice remained steady and firm. Jack's eyes flickered with surprise briefly before settling into a guarded calm. He paused, then nodded slowly. "Maybe I am hiding a little, but not as you think. I need to figure out my next move." His gaze dropped to the ground, showing vulnerability. Becky's suspicion deepened. She felt he was concealing truths behind hollow words. The wind outside intensified, rattling the cabin walls and making her shiver slightly. She wondered what secrets he kept hidden from her sight. Her hand instinctively gripped her small radio device on her belt just in case. The night grew tense and unpredictable. Finally, she stepped closer deliberately, voice calm but commanding. "You're not just passing through, are you?" "There's more you're hiding from me," she thought, sensing deception. Jack hesitated but nodded faintly, pressing her with doubt. Her grip on the radio tightened as she braced for what was to come. Suddenly, the cabin door creaked open slow, revealing a shadowed figure against the moonlit snow. Becky's heartbeat quickened. She instinctively moved, positioning herself between the stranger and Jack to defend if needed. The figure hesitated, then entered, showing a face Becky thought she left behind. Her eyes widened in shock. The game had shifted once more. Jack's face changed from nervous to surprised, heightening the tension. Earlier secrets now seemed insignificant compared to this new truth. Becky realized her view of Jack was incomplete. His presence here was no accident, and the danger she sensed earlier was clearer now. Her trust shattered, replaced by an urgent need to reassess everything. From now on, her survival depended on seeing through lies and deciding if Jack was friend or foe. As night fell deeper, Becky's perspective changed. Forever the woods held more secrets, and enemies might be closer than she thought. The scene shifted from hiding from the dark outside to facing inner fears as Becky listened carefully against the ancient pine. She paused, evaluating her options, aware that a sudden move might reveal her presence. Faint voices drifted through the trees, indistinct, but enough to confirm someone was near. Becky's grip tightened on her binoculars as she spotted another shadow, a quick flicker, a glint of metal. She knew her watcher was skilled at hiding. Their silence and patience suggested they had been observing her for some time, waiting for a mistake. A rustle behind her snapped her back to the moment. She spun around instinctively, reaching for her sidearm, but only felt wind disturbing the snow. Her heart beat quietly, yet her mind stayed alert. She realized this wasn't accidental. Someone was deliberately stalking her. All signs pointed to an organized observer, maybe sent by enemies or with their own goals. Carefully, she moved into the shadows, scanning for further clues. A faint reflection caught her eye, a quick flash of metal that was almost too fast to see. Her thoughts whirled. Was it a weapon, a camera, or something even more dangerous? Her suspicion grew stronger, intensifying her determination to stay alert. If an enemy was nearby with hostile aims, she had to learn their purpose first. The temperature dropped, making her fingers slightly numb, but she wouldn't back down. She moved behind a fallen branch for cover, her motions slow and careful. The snow's footprints confirmed her doubts. This intrusion was planned, not accidental. Someone knew the terrain well and had clear intent. Her mind raced, examining every detail: the trail's direction, faint sounds, glimpses of metal glints. A sudden crack broke the silence, twigs snapping under cautious footsteps. Becky froze as her narrowed eyes honed in on the sound. The figure she saw earlier remained in the shadows, observing her silently. Her heartbeat pounded loudly as she realized she wasn't alone anymore. Whoever was out there wanted to lure her into a trap and see how aware she was. Her gaze flicked to nearby bushes where slight movement hinted someone shifted position. She knew caution was vital. Her hesitation had bought her time, but now she must decide whether to face or retreat and observe further. Her instincts told her to stay hidden, but signs of danger urged her to act. She took a deep breath, steadying herself, and moved cautiously toward a fallen branch for cover. Keeping her eyes on the shadowy figure now more clear in her mind, she noted the metallic shine, potentially a weapon or surveillance device. She became more suspicious. This was no ordinary observer, but someone with a purpose, possibly dangerous. As she stepped forward, the snow shifted under her, giving away her position. She halted and listened closely, catching fragments of hurried voices that indicated others nearby, perhaps part of something bigger. Her choices narrowed: communicate, call for backup, or try to flee. All risky options. She knew hesitation could be deadly. Suddenly, a faint crack sounded on her left. Becky tensed immediately. She abruptly turned, eyes probing the darkness, aware she was in a carefully planned trap. The forest concealed its secrets, but Becky was determined to find the truth and survive. She hid silently behind a fallen log, eyes fixed on the thick bushes ahead as shadows stretched across the damp ground. The dusk's cold seeped into her bones, while distant wolf howls echoed through the quiet, a haunting sign of the wilderness's power. Taking a careful breath, her fingers rested lightly on her belt near her clipped flashlight. Her senses sharpened with every rustle and whisper in the silence. A subtle movement disturbed the calm, a slight shift in the undergrowth. Becky's gaze focused, her body tensed instinctively. She stayed still, narrowing her eyes to wait for what caused the noise. The wind carried an unfamiliar scent, wet fur mixed with something wild and primal, yet strangely recognizable. Shadows flickered with each gust, but no other signs of humans or threats appeared. Suddenly, she saw a shimmer reflective in the darkening woods. Her heartbeat quickened, yet she kept calm. From the shadows stepped a figure, paws softly moving over leaves. It was a wolf, but not an ordinary one. Proud stance, dense coat blending shades of gray and black that seemed to swallow what little light there was. Faintly glowing eyes locked onto hers with almost sentient intensity as the wolf paused nearby. She felt a strange calm. The lead wolf gently nudged the newcomer, offering reassurance with a soft touch, displaying a family-like bond. She paused, unsure whether to speak, gesture, or stay silent as the wolf's stare intensified, waiting for her choice, an unspoken signal. Time felt infinite in the darkness, broken only by whispering wind and distant howls. The forest held its breath. Suddenly, the lead wolf lowered into a crouch, not out of aggression, but trust, inviting her closer. Becky's heart raced, but she moved carefully, eyes fixed on the animal with intentional steps. Approaching gradually, warmth blossomed inside despite the cold. Their connection felt delicate yet genuine, an unspoken recognition that she belonged here in the sacred space. The wolf's eyes sparkled with acknowledgement. Becky realized this moment marked a turning point in the forest, revealing secrets that could change her understanding of these woods and their mysterious forces. Abruptly, the wolf lifted itself and turned toward a distant thicket, ears attentive. Becky followed its gaze to a faint shadowed movement, something watching from within. Her heart fluttered with curiosity and caution. This was more than an animal. It was a messenger or guardian guiding her into deeper forest mysteries. Her grip on the talisman briefly tightened as a surge of resolve filled her, realizing her part in an ancient, unseen tapestry. Becky sensed her journey was now about uncovering a hidden truth that could change everything, not just survival. As the wolf slipped into the shadows, she felt a shift and understood she was chosen to be part of this mystical web. Determined and awestruck, she faced the path ahead, knowing her encounter with the wolves was only the beginning and listening to the wood's whisperings. "You need my help. I can't keep running any longer," he said nervously, searching her face for trust. "They're after me, and I just need a safe place to hide for tonight." Becky's fists instinctively clenched as her mind quickly evaluated the danger of trusting a stranger. She knew the woods could hide deception behind desperate words, but something in his voice made her hesitate. The outside shadows seemed to listen, closing in. "Why should I believe you?" she asked softly, cautious yet steady, eyeing the door as if expecting a threat from the darkness beyond. "Who's after you? What have you done?" He took a deep breath, worry and fear evident on his face. His shoulders tensed and he looked away briefly. "It's not about my actions, but what they demand now." His voice wavered, layered with fatigue. "I've been running for days, never expecting this." He fumbled in his pocket, pulling out a crumpled paper and holding it out to her. "Look at this," he said softly, pressing it into her hand with pleading eyes. "Proof I'm not here to cause trouble. I just need a safe place to wait through the night." Becky unfolded it carefully, her eyes quickly scanning hurried handwriting, a name, a date, and address clues linking him to something bigger and more dangerous. Her inner doubts grew stronger. Part of her wanted to trust him, but caution warned otherwise. The wind rattled the window panes, making her flinch as darkness outside seemed alive, watching and waiting. Shadows flickered beyond the fire's weak glow, suggesting unseen watchers nearby. Her grip on the paper tightened as she hesitated. At last, she exhaled quietly and nodded firmly, saying, "All right. Tonight, I'll trust you for now, though I have my reasons." She gestured toward the door. "If you're lying or it's a trap, I won't hesitate to send you out into the night." Jack nodded quickly, relief flickering then fading as uncertainty settled in. He leaned against the wall, trying to steady trembling limbs. The wind outside howled louder, warning her to stay cautious. Becky moved closer to the fire, questioning how much she could trust him. Was he truly fleeing enemies or hiding something else? Every creak and whisper from the woods beyond suggested danger. Her hand rested near her radio, ready to call for backup if needed. The flames danced wildly, casting strange shadows on the walls as she glanced again at the door. Unseen threats lurked just beyond reach. Instead of acting, she remained silent, observing and waiting as night still lingered. Someone quietly approached her cabin, prompting her to straighten and scan the forest, sensing something was wrong. A faint scrape beside a print drew her attention, deliberate and unnatural. Someone had stopped here, possibly listening or hiding. Her fingers brushed the snow, searching for clues. A faint, earthy smell lingered, metallic and unfamiliar. Her heartbeat quickened with suspicion. She glanced back toward the woods, feeling the oppressive silence amplified by every sound. Unseen eyes seemed to watch her intently. Suddenly, a soft crunch behind her made Becky spin, rifle at the ready. She scanned the trees but saw only stillness, silent forest watching silently. Lowering her weapon slightly, she remained alert yet cautious. Minutes passed slowly, punctuated by whispers of wind in her breathing. The footprints tempted her to follow, but she hesitated, rooted in doubt. Was this a trap, or was she unknowingly being drawn into one? Her thoughts spinning, she considered dangers and options. A crack in the bushes mate or stop, eyes widening as a fleeting shadow moved at the corner of her vision, too quick to identify. She breathed steadily, trying to calm her pounding heart. The woods had turned into a confusing maze, every sound a possible menace. She shifted her stance, eyes returning to the trail ahead. The footprints led toward a small clearing marked by a broken branch. Was someone lurking, waiting for her, or had they already gone, leaving only tracks behind? Her hand hovered over her pocket with a tiny whistle, a potential signal for help if necessary. But she paused, knowing that making noise could reveal her location. So she chose to stay hidden, merging with the shadows, observing silently. Once more, movement caught her eye, a dark figure behind some bushes. Her instincts heightened, she leaned against a tree, eyes locked on the spot, waiting silently for movement. The forest seemed frozen in anticipation. Then she saw it, a slight shadow shift, a faint disturbance in the snow, an almost unseen sign that someone was nearby watching her. Her stomach twisted with tension. The intruder was near, likely aware of her presence already. A twig snap broke the silence abruptly. Becky ducked instinctively, hand on her chest. Her heart pounded loudly, but she stayed perfectly still. Revealing herself now could be deadly. Slowly, she stepped back, eyes fixed on the dark shape she'd glimpsed before. The tracks pointed straight at our cabin. Whoever it was knew she was here. But why? A tingling ran down her spine as she felt their gaze intensify on her. Every fiber in her urged her to run, yet her mind kept her grounded. She needed to determine if this presence was friend or foe. Her grip on the rifle tightened once more, prepared for anything that might appear. Suddenly, through the tangled branches, she noticed it, a faint movement, a figure hidden behind the bushes. Becky froze, senses sharp, awaiting any sign, sound, or step. The forest guarded its secrets tightly, and she understood her next move could change everything. Out of nowhere, a distant snap echoed loudly among the trees. Becky's muscles tensed instantly, her body responded naturally. Quickly, she slipped behind a thick trunk to stay out of sight. Her eyes darted toward the trail now leading behind her cabin in an unexpected direction. The footprints had shifted course toward her shelter with a more deliberate pattern, less hurried and more precise. She realized her initial assumption was incomplete. Someone was intentionally approaching from behind rather than wandering aimlessly. The scent of earth and metal still lingered, but now she suspected an organized observer, someone familiar with her routines and waiting for the right moment. Her fingers brushed her pocket again, but hesitantly held back. The whistle might betray her. Instead, she stayed quiet, blending in and watching carefully. Moving closer to the cabin, she kept out of sight with alert senses. A faint noise behind a bush caught her eye. She froze, squinting. A figure cautiously appeared from the shadows dressed in dark clothes, moving steadily but slowly. Becky wondered, was this an intruder, an ally, or someone else? The person paused to survey the area before vanishing behind trees. Her muscles tensed again. The intruder was nearby, likely waiting for her next move. She had to decide confront or escape, but both were risky. She chose to remain still and silent, her hand on her rifle, but not threatening. Her gaze remained on the shadows, alert for any sign of movement. Suddenly, a faint sound, a soft scraping, drew her attention. She glimpsed a quick flicker behind the trees, then nothing. The figure continued watching her. Becky's mind raced. This wasn't a random encounter. Someone was deliberately observing and gathering intel. She took a deep breath to steady herself, realizing she was now under surveillance. The intruder wasn't just passing, they were actively watching her. Her awareness heightened and her resolve strengthened. As she prepared to act, she noticed movement, something darker behind the bushes, almost merging with shadows. Her instincts compelled caution. She pressed her back against the tree, eyes fixed on the spot, awaiting any sign or sound. The forest seemed to hold its breath again until she saw it, an almost invisible disturbance in the snow indicating someone was nearby, watching her carefully. Her stomach clenched even tighter as the intruder drew near, possibly aware of her presence. A sharp snap of a twig shattered the silence, causing Becky to duck instinctively, her heart racing. She tightened her grip on the rifle but stayed still, knowing any movement might reveal her location. Slowly, she stepped back, eyes fixed on the dark shape seen earlier. The footprints now led toward her cabin with a more methodical pattern, less frantic and more deliberate. The intruder was approaching intentionally, not by chance. Her mind raced through possibilities. Was this foe or friend? Did they want to confront or observe? The scent of earth and metal suggested a prepared watcher familiar with her routine. She remained hidden in the shadows, senses sharp. Her fingers hovered over her pocket, where her whistle lay, her last option, though noise could give her away. She held her breath, watching silently. Behind her, a faint movement caught her eye, a dark figure, still and silent, lurking behind bushes. Becky pressed against the tree, muscles tense. Her gaze fixed on the shadow, awaiting any sign of movement. The forest seemed to close in around her. Then she saw it, a shift in shadows, a subtle disturbance in the snow, an almost imperceptible clue that someone was nearby, watching. Her stomach tightened further. The intruder was close, possibly aware of her presence already. A sudden twig snap broke the silence. Becky flinched, ducking instinctively. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears, but she remained still. Revealing herself now could be deadly. She slowly stepped back, eyes locked on the dark figure. The tracks led straight toward her cabin. Whoever it was knew she was there. The question was why. The feeling of being observed grew, tingling her skin. Her nerves pushed her to run, but her mind kept her in place. She had to determine if it was a threat or opportunity. Her grip on the rifle tightened again, prepared for anything. Suddenly, through the branches, she noticed it. Faint movement, a figure still behind the bushes, silent. Becky held her breath, alert and attentive. The forest mysteries pressed against her, and she realized her next move could be crucial. A soft shuffle broke the silence, causing her to freeze. Her eyes widened as a shadow moved behind a tree and vanished. The figure remained watching silently. Becky's thoughts raced. This was no coincidence. It was intentional. Someone was observing, gathering information, waiting for her response. She exhaled slowly and chose to stay hidden a little longer. Her fingers stayed on her rifle as she kept watch on the shadows. She realized she was being watched, and her safety relied on patience and vigilance. Staying still, a gentle breeze moved the branches, casting brief shadows. The snow was untouched beneath her, yet she felt a nearby observer just out of view. Her stomach tightened, her senses heightened. The intruder was close, aware of her presence, possibly preparing to attack. She shifted her stance slightly, readying herself to respond. Tracks, scent, shadows all indicated her environment was no longer secure. Her awareness grew. She was now an active participant in the silent confrontation. As Becky's eyes caught movement again, a figure cautiously entering sight, face hidden but clearly observing, her grip on the rifle firm. The situation had changed. Her surroundings were no longer under her control. The intruder was near, and her next move could decide everything. She held her breath, alert and ready for what might come, knowing it could determine her fate or survival. Darkness claimed the clearing as twilight faded into a black void. Becky's breath formed ghostly clouds as she gripped the rough bark of a makeshift weapon, a sharpened, sturdy branch, knuckles widened with tension. Every muscle was tense, senses alert, awaiting any sign of movement or sound revealing the intruder's intent. A brief hesitation flickered in the shadowy figure outside, then the door creaked open, echoing through the silent woods. An icy gust entered, carrying damp earth scents and a sharp metallic aroma that prickled her skin. The figure was barely visible in darkness, but showed a tense stance and cautious posture. He moved slowly, hands raised non-threateningly, eyes flickering uncertainly. "Who are you?" Becky asked steadily despite pounding heart. She watched him closely, his hurried motions, sweat on his brow, rapid breathing. His face was partially hidden under a hooded jacket, but his tense frame betrayed desperation. He stopped briefly and whispered hoarsely, "Just seeking shelter. I mean no harm." His strained voice and nervous glances into the shadows revealed his exhaustion and unease. Becky tightened her hold on the branch, her stance firm. "Why are you here? What do you want?" she demanded, voice steady but sharp. Her mind hurried through possible reasons: trespasser, lost traveler, or something more sinister. The woods around them hid unseen dangers, primal instincts urging caution. He paused again before slowly lowering his hands, palms open. I've been escaping. From them, he whispered, nervously glancing at the door as if afraid something lurked outside. They're after me. I can't explain everything now, but I need a moment, just a moment to breathe. Becky scrutinized him closely, tightening her grip even more. Who's after you? What are you running from? She asked with suspicion, yet curiosity flickered beneath her tone. The day remained eerily calm, no signs of recent trouble, yet this stranger's sudden appearance deeply disturbed her. He briefly looked away, considering his options, then whispered softly, "Those who want me silent or gone are dangerous. They're more than I can handle alone. They won't stop until I'm dead or gone." His words filled the silence with dread, making Becky's spine shiver. A sudden gust shook the windows, casting shifting shadows inside the cabin. The man moved closer cautiously, voice lowering even more. "Please, I have few choices. Outside means death before dawn. I need a few minutes to decide my next move." His eyes searched hers desperately, silently begging for understanding. Becky hesitated, torn between trust and caution, as her duty conflicted with compassion for the exhausted stranger. The stranger shifted slightly, eyes flickering with relief and suspicion. Suddenly, a loud snap from the trees made both tense. Becky's pulse quickened. She tightened her grip on the branch, alert for unseen danger. The woods had betrayed their silence. Something was out there watching. She looked at the man, whose wary gaze met hers. "Who were you running from?" she whispered softly. Shadows from the fire crossed his face, showing exhaustion and fear. He opened his mouth to reply but hesitated, reconsidering. A shadow flashed past the window into darkness. Becky's breath caught. Whatever it was nearby and watching her. Her fingers clenched tighter on the branch, ready for what might come next as the night grew more unpredictable and threatening. Her determination grew stronger. She took a deep breath to steady herself. "Stay here, but if I hear one more word about secrets or threats, I won't hesitate to act. Do you understand?" Her voice was firm. The man nodded slowly, eyes flickering with fear and relief. She moved closer to the door, listening carefully for any noise beyond the walls. The darkness outside seemed impenetrable, hiding hidden secrets of the woods. Becky wondered for a moment if trusting a stranger was wise in such danger, but she knew one thing: her night wasn't over yet. The shadows held answers she needed to find, no matter what it cost. As silence settled again, she felt a new resolve inside her. She had gained a fragile ally, someone fleeing unseen enemies. The external threat remained, but now she wasn't alone in facing it. Her understanding of the danger deepened along with her cautious trust in the stranger's desperation. Remaining alert, she prepared for any lurking danger in the darkness, knowing her choice could determine her and others' fate. Becky paused at the snow-covered clearing's edge, breath forming fleeting clouds in the cold morning air. The heavy silence was broken only by the muffled crunch of snow beneath her cautious steps as she moved forward. The surrounding forest was silent and imposing, hiding uneven ground and secrets beneath its white cover. Her eyes shifted between shadows, vigilant for any movement or cries for help. Suddenly, a faint muffled shout pierced through the stillness, urgent and sharp. Her heart raced. Instinct guiding her, she headed toward the sound, carefully stepping over drifting snow that muffled her footsteps. The cry repeated, more frantic, leading her to a bush where icy branches drooped with frozen weight. Becky slowed down and heightened her senses. She crouched low, listening closely with every nerve alert. Through swirling snowflakes, she saw a figure struggling limbs, flailing weakly and barely visible under the snowdrifts. "Hold on," she softly murmured, voice calm yet caring. Fixing her gaze on the trembling, exhausted young person before her, she moved swiftly to kneel beside them. "Can I help?" she asked cautiously, offering a tentative hand. The girl looked up, eyes filled with fear and relief. "Please, help. They're nearby," she whispered, voice trembling. Becky frowned, asking, "Who's coming?" "Who are you escaping from?" The girl's lips parted, but exhaustion overtook her. Becky gently grasped her arm and helped her upright. Her face pale, cheeks cold and flushed, torn clothes streaked with dirt and blood. Becky quickly thought she needed to move her to safety away from prying eyes and pursuers. "Let's find shelter," Becky whispered, guiding her through the snow toward the tree's cover. The girl shivered intensely, clutching herself tightly. Deeper in the woods, faint footprints in the snow caught Becky's attention, urgent signs of recent passage. Her senses heightened. The girl's labored breathing was the only sound until distant muffled shouts echoed behind them. Becky froze, instincts kicking in as she spun around to scan the trees. Silence returned, broken only by wind and branches cracking. She clutched the girl tighter, her mind racing. Who were they, why chased her, and what danger approached? Reaching a fallen log, Becky gently supported the girl's sit, pressing her hand to her shoulder. "Stay here. I'll check around," she whispered and moved left, eyes searching for pursuers. A faint rustle in the nearby bushes drew her attention. She crouched low with narrowed eyes, glimpsing a fleeting shadow through sparse branches before it vanished, her heartbeat quickening, but her face remaining calm. After a tense moment, it inclined its head slightly and vanished into the bushes, disappearing from view. Relief flooded her chest, yet she stayed cautious. The forest was full of unpredictable dangers, and she knew appearances could deceive. She looked at the girl, now trembling uncontrollably and clutching her blood-stained side. "Can you walk?" Becky asked gently. The girl nodded weakly, face pale but resolute. Becky helped her stand, supporting her as they moved deeper into the woods away from open ground and danger behind them. Every step was careful and deliberate. As they continued, Becky's mind filled with questions. Who is she? Why is she fleeing? What secret do the pursuers want? The forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting silently for what would happen next. Suddenly, the girl spoke with a trembling voice. "They're not just hunters, they're seeking something or someone important." Becky's eyes widened slightly. "What do you mean?" she asked. "They're after the secret, the truth," she whispered urgently. Becky froze, realizing how dangerous this pursuit truly was. It was about a hidden power worth chasing. They reached a small clearing with a fallen branch for a quick rest, Becky observing signs like disturbed snow and broken twigs revealing recent passage. She inspected the hurried footprints leading into the darker, more threatening forest shadows. Suddenly, a snapping branch behind the mate or turned quickly. Her hand instinctively moved toward her weapon, but she was too slow. A large, dark figure emerged from the shadows, an alpha wolf, eyes sharp with intelligence and caution. It didn't attack, instead, it paused to observe her calmly. Its presence was commanding yet respectful, recognizing her as a force not to be underestimated. The creature's stance was alert but not aggressive. It seemed to evaluate whether she was friend or foe. Becky's heart raced. She sensed this was no ordinary predator. The wolf's behavior suggested a deeper bond, perhaps a guardian or forest spirit. She remained still, avoiding sudden movements. After a tense moment, the wolf lowered its head slightly and disappeared back into the shadows, leaving Becky with uneasy awe. She turned to the girl, trembling intensely with wide eyes of fear and fatigue. "Can you walk?" Becky asked softly. The girl gasped, clutching her wounded sight as blood leaked through torn fabric. Becky supported her, guiding them deeper into the woods, into the unknown. As they vanished into the thicket, Becky's thoughts sped up. Her search was now more perilous and elusive than ever. The forest hushed, and she waited silently for the inevitable confrontation with the shadows closing around her. Moving quietly through dense foliage, Becky's senses were heightened after days of tension. Moonlight barely pierced the tangled branches, casting shifting, breathing shadows across the woods. Her breath was steady but cautious, every step carefully placed to avoid noise or alert unseen watchers. She grasped her small flashlight tightly, its beam piercing darkness to reveal a trail marked earlier, her only guide through this maze of shadows. Her mind raced over recent clues, torn fabric caught on a branch, fresh footprints in muddy ground, and a faint metallic glint buried beneath dirt. These signs confirmed she was being watched. Someone had been here recently. This realization strengthened her resolve. She had to discover who or what was stalking her, and if they posed a threat. A sudden snap in the underbrush halted her. Instinctively, she reached for her knife, tightening her grip around the handle. She hid behind a fallen log, sensing she was being watched despite the forest's silence, emotions racing. Her movements indicated she was being tracked or followed along her trail. Realizing she was now the hunted, she tightened her grip on the flashlight and considered her options: confront or hide, both risky. Instead, she opted to circle behind the terrain, aiming to flank her pursuer while listening for any sounds like cracking branches or footsteps. She then spotted a broken twig with fresh bark scraped off, hinting someone had recently brushed past. The trail led toward a familiar clearing deeper in the woods, a dangerous shortcut that might give her an advantage if she reached it first. Her muscles tensed with anticipation as her pace accelerated, carrying tools and a small first aid kit on her back, reminders of her purpose and danger. The forest pressed in around her, every sound heightened or alertness. She knew she had to stay calm, trust instincts, and avoid noise revealing her position. Suddenly, a strange smoke smell wafted through the air, unnatural and unlike anything from the woods, causing her eyes to widen. Someone nearby might be setting a trap or planning an ambush. She paused, hiding behind thick bushes, and observed a faint flickering light ahead, possibly from a campfire or lantern, indicating she's close to her target or a potential trap. She hesitated, weighing risks of direct approach versus losing the trail by retreating. Staying hidden, she moved closer, alert for sounds or movement. A rustle made her freeze as a cloaked figure with measured steps emerged, heading toward the glow, unaware of her presence. Her thoughts raced: should she intercept or wait? Suddenly, a twig snapped nearby, causing the figure to look toward or position. Becky's stomach tightened as she realized she'd been spotted. Her choices narrowed: run, hide, or negotiate. But retreat would cost her the chance to learn the truth here. She fixed her gaze on the figure and decided to act. Silent and firm, she drew her knife and stepped out to confront or divert the intruder. The figure's eyes widened in surprise, but they didn't run. Instead, they paused, studying her cautiously. "Who are you?" Becky asked with steady but quiet voice. The person hesitated and slowly lowered their hood, revealing a face she knew, a former rival from her past. The shock hit or hard. This wasn't a random stalker. It was someone with knowledge of her location, a threat to everything she fought for. The stakes had just changed. Becky realized her mission had shifted from mere survival to exposing a deeper conspiracy. Facing a strong opponent, her awareness of the enemy's presence grew significantly. As the figure approached, she tightened her grip on her weapon, prepared for what was next. Shadows thickened around them, but her determination shone brighter. No longer just a hunted outsider, she now confronted her enemy directly, seeking the truth at any cost. The dark night loomed, but her spirit remained unbroken. She was ready to face the unknown, knowing her choices would shape her destiny and possibly everything she aimed to protect. Dawn's first light filtered through the canopy, casting broken rays on damp earth. Becky paused, breathing in the fresh forest air. Her gaze sharpened as she surveyed her surroundings and clenched her fist with rough gloves as grounding yet alert signals of change. The forest felt alive with tension. It seemed waiting for her arrival. Her recent thoughts weighed heavily. Beneath that burden emerged new clarity. She knew ignoring nature's silent cues was no longer an option. Shadows and whispers of unseen eyes, these secrets became part of her purpose, guiding her quest. Approaching the unknown, she faced a new path requiring her growing courage. As sunlight reached higher, illuminating patches of leaves, Becky's gaze was drawn to distant hills where the horizon hinted at mystery. Her steps on fallen leaves were slow and intentional. Instincts warned her of hidden dangers beneath the calm surface. She read subtle signs: the displaced leaf's faint scuff, branch sway, wind's whisper, each one vital. A brief movement caught her eye. She looked up sharply and saw a shadow slip behind leaves. Heart racing, she kept steady focus, steady breathing. Her binoculars steadied in her hands as she studied the figure moving cautiously, deliberately avoiding visibility. Was it an intruder or something darker? Details like shoulder tilt and movement rhythm heightened her alertness as the forest grew heavier with earthy scents and dampness. Becky's nostrils flared involuntarily as she tried to interpret the message: warning, curiosity, or something else. Her thoughts raced, balancing risks of approach or retreat. She knew rushing and blindly could be risky, but staying still might cost her crucial clues. Her resolve strengthened. She would observe, analyze, and decide carefully. Suddenly, a distant howl broke the morning silence, a long haunting cry resonating deep within her bones, a primal signal from the wild that reminded her of the forest heartbeat. The cry both warned and invited, reflecting her complex bond with this place. Her tension eased slightly as she realized her role was changing, no longer just an outsider, but becoming part of the forest's ongoing story. Becky lowered her binoculars slowly, eyes fixed on the shadowy figure retreating cautiously. Her grip tightened on her walking stick as textured wood pressed into her palm. Her shoulders relaxed slightly, internal tension easing, yet her gaze stayed sharp. Dawn's gentle glow lit up her face with dirt and sweat streaks, evidence of her relentless quest for truth. Her mindset shifted from cautious observation to strategic planning. She needed to decipher what secrets the forest concealed beneath its surface, drawing on her previous encounters with shadows and recent signs. Her understanding grew stronger, boosting her confidence as she listened carefully to a rustling sound among the bushes. Instinctively reaching for her knife, she paused and observed cautiously. A small fox appeared briefly before disappearing into the undergrowth, reminding her of the forest's subtle life signs. She noticed fresh footprints pressed into the soft ground leading toward the hills, hinting at recent activity, possibly someone she knew or someone she'd rather avoid. The changing wind carried a complex scent of damp earth, moss, and metallic hints, fueling both caution and resolve to follow the trail ahead. Becky gasped, sensing the forest was speaking through smells and sounds, guiding her decisions. Her mind clear, senses sharpened, she sensed the forest's secrets and felt ready.